Okay po, good afternoon. So, for today, we will be having a discussion also about engine management, advanced approach for electronic fuel injection. So, previously, we have discussed that electronic fuel injections have several subsystems like fuel injection, fuel system, we have air induction, and also we have the ECU or the electronic control unit. So for today, we will be having additional inputs which come from the book of Mr. Greg Banish, a mechanical engineer, which is a motor sports enthusiast. For the introduction part, the goal here is to educate an enthusiast, skilled technician, and automotive engineer alike to be able to come away with something. So to this end, we will explore the basics of engine operation to reinforce what is really going under the hood. So from there, we will move on to the ins and outs of modern electric fuel injection system and ultimately some specifics of calibration methods and horsepower production. So the focus of this book is gasoline engines. However, many of the concepts can carry over to other applications. So while much of the material may seem like a review to many, it is important to keep in mind that the fundamentals of engine operation while attempting to change calibration. So this is a solid understanding of what is happening inside the manifold and combustion chamber, which gives the calibrator an edge in turning. So as you can see in the picture, we have the 1968 Plymouth GTX 440 made 375 gross horsepower and was considered state of the art for this time. So in reality, this engine has a specific amount of 0.85 horsepower per cubic inch and would fail modern emission tests miserably. So on the picture pa rin, we have the 2006 Ford Mustang, which makes 300 horsepower out of a 281 cubic engine for a specific output of 1.07 horsepower per cubic inch. So with complete compliance to today's stringent emission standards. Next is the on the picture is the engine in this is the Mercedes, which is the 221 SE, which is equipped with mechanical fuel injection and makes about 120 horsepower from 2.2 liters. So it has a limited capability to adjust for changing weather conditions. So let's face it today that the performance enthusiast doesn't want to compromise and we want tons of power, reliability, drivability, and worry-free operation. So nowadays, the challenge is to make our vehicle less emission and budget friendly. So when we say budget friendly, so aside from it is economical and the body is okay and light, so ang challenge nowadays is kailangan siya ay fuel efficient. So gone are days of living with the companies between the horsepower seekers and the emission regulators. We now live in a time where one can walk into a new car dealership and simply buy an honest 400 horsepower car that idles quietly, drives smooth as silk, and is backed by a full factory warranty. Considering that in the heyday of the muscle car wars, 300 gross horsepower was outstanding, and it still came with a rough idle and terrible gas mileage. Today, performance car market is as good as it has been ever been. So how did we get here? First and foremost, the automakers have learned a thing or two about engine design in the last 3 decades, which is 30 years ago. So serious advances in the areas of cylinder head, intake, and camshaft design have allowed engines to make far more power out of much smaller packages and displacements. So what the OEM engineers call specific output or power per cubic inch has gone way up directly as a result of the increase in flow potential of modern competent designs. So compared to this injection molded long runner intake with the cast iron fire barrel paperweight of the 60s, and it's easy to see the difference. So other than the obvious weight advantage, the port walls are smaller, and sizes are tuned to take advantage of standing waves to increase port energy at the same time the valves are opening. So friction has become another area where modern engines have evolved tremendously. As you can see, there are engines na masyadong malakas na vibration and less vibration. So which is nowadays a chance din na to improve the fuel efficiency, kailangan ay mayroong convenience ang isang driver or isang customer or vehicle owner. So where there were one solid tappets dragging across an oil cam under severe spring pressure, there are now hydraulically damp rollers or even complete lack of push rods, shortening the path between the cam lobe and valve. So looking at the modern cylinder heads also reveals carefully designed port geometry, combustion chambers designed to do more than simply seal ports, and often a camshaft or two. So the head ports themselves have evolved to increase velocity, yielding more total flow from smaller valves and better mixing of air and fuel in the combustion chamber. So this is a modern engine. As you can see in the picture, although still carbureted, ano, it produced large amounts of power, but even at over 1,600 horsepower, it must still be adjusted to accommodate changes in current weather conditions for best performance. So this super street outlaw engine used two sets of injectors, each on its own rail to supply enough fuel to make almost 2,000 horsepower with an EFI control system. Changes in weather are automatically compensated for by the PCM to keep the engine running at its peak. So with the said, efficiently designed air pumps don't run as a working engine without a little help. So current production vehicles run on electronic fuel injection for a whole list of reasons. So as you can see, not the least of which are emissions and drivability. So fortunately, emissions and power production are not completely at odds with one another as the environmentalists would have us believe. The underlying connections is efficiency. So as you can see, taking advantage of every drop of fuel in the engine leaves less left over to pollute our precious atmosphere and ensures that we're not missing out on our chance to use the energy in the fuel to push as hard as possible on the pistons to move up, down the road. So, yun yung pinaka-goal talaga ng electronic fuel injections to improve fuel consumption. So the balance is to make sure that we only inject enough fuel to make the power necessary to whatever it is we're asking the engine to do at the moment. So improving the fuel efficiency, ibig sabihin, we will be having more savings and will improve the capacity of the vehicle and performance of the vehicle. Aside from that, improving the fuel efficiency will increase performance output of the vehicle. So whether it's idling at a spotlight, cruising the interstate, or racing down the quarter mile, there is always an ideal recipe of air and fuel to pour into the engine. So meaning, yung EFI, kagaya nga ng sabi natin ng last time, ang fuel delivery, air induction engine timing will be better with the edge of computer, which is the ECU. Ano? So whether it's idling at stoplight, cruising interstate, or racing down the quarter mile, there is always an ideal recipe of air and fuel to pour into the engine to keep things working as close to peak efficiency as possible. So the closer we keep the engine to this ideal mix at all times, the better the engine will perform. So meaning, pagka tama at efficient ang fuel delivery, mas magiging efficient ang operation ng ating engine. So as you can see from left to right, we have GM, J9, Siemens, SIM90, and Ford EECV. Pero parang kulang yung picture. So they are all different packages for similar set of control functions. So modern PCMs pack as much as processing power as the desktop computers for several years ago. In the time it took you to read this caption, this processor can perform over 16 million calculations. So yun na yung mga role ng mga computers. Sure that the old small black Chevy in the garage has run great for 4 years with a single Holly 650 on top and the timing lock at 34 degrees. So it makes all the power you need to go on Friday nights and cruise the memory lane of your choice to your satisfaction on any summer night. So does it start in March? Why do you need to reject the carburetor to run good over every October? So why did the new Mustang at the last stoplight walk all over you? So how can he do to your hot rod and still be 100% emissions legal? So the answers in the form of precision. Ano? So the ability to instantly adjust to changes in condition is what gives an electronically fuel-injected car the decided an advantage here. Carburetors can be tuned perfectly under any single condition. This is why you see the drag racers constantly checking their weather stations in the pits between rounds and making adjustments to the jets. With a change in density come a change in what would be considered an ideal mixture at any given moment. So what was a spot on last night can now be 5% rich this afternoon. So the beauty of EFI is that changes to the engine's operating parameters necessary to keep up with the changing atmosphere happen without even lifting the hood. So further, the changes that EFI can make are in smaller increments that what can be done with a jet change of carburetor. So it's not usual to see adjustments in half percent of fuel delivery or even a quarter of a degree of spark uh, lead in a modern fuel injection system. So the whole trick is to know where to have the controller make these adjustments. Okay? Nangyari. Mag, ano ba? So the speed at which electronic processor inside modern power control modules or the PCM power control modules operate is extremely fast when compared to operating speed of an engine in redline. So processor speeds are measured in megahertz or zillions of cycles per second. So even the most advanced Formula One engines today only operate at a maximum of approximately 23,000 RPM. So it becomes easy to see that the PCM has plenty of time to think about the outputs to deliver. So yung ating mga power control module can take snapshot of engine performance at any instant. So there is an analyze every parameter and make multiple calculations before the crankshaft even rotates a couple of degrees. So this process can be repeatedly multiple times between combustion events at high speed. So in the early years of electronic fuel injection, control of systems in engine operations were reserved for OEM engineers. So the added complexity did a good job of scaring many performance enthusiasts away. So little by little, the aftermarket began to step up to plate and embrace the technology. So even eventually, enthusiasts were rewarded with the replacement of EPROM. So EPROM stands for Programmable Read-Only Memory chips, modified to improve the subtle changes to air fuel mixture and timing needed to squeeze 10 or more horsepower out of production vehicles. So after that came the aftermarket trumps card, the standalone fuel injection is no longer fuel injection. So no longer for performance enthusiasts tied to factory fuel and timing maps. New, more exotic combination of parts could be employed in the name of horsepower. With the advent of the internet, we have seen hundreds of enthusiast sites spring up dedicated to just about any performance, make engine, and the vehicle imaginable. So the question that seems to get echoed across all forums seems to be how do I change the PCM to get more out of my car? So not unlike politics, Everyone seems to have their opinion of what is best, and nobody seems shy to argue that they are right. So while some forums seem to be far more technically oriented and mindful of avoiding the proliferation of misinformation, there seems to be no shortage of armchair quarterbacks in the internet tuning arena. So the best advice here is to be take everyone with a grain of salt. So it is rare to see true experts online teaching the general public the secrets to their success for free. So more often, in the grassroots enthusiast sharing what tip or trick recently worked for them. So the word caution here is to remember that with the complexity of today's EFI system, it's easy to get what seems like the right result for the wrong reason. So many output functions are controlled by a layer upon layer of tables, colors, and functions that work in concert to deliver the seamless operation of the engine. So changing the wrong function or table may indeed correct the problem at hand while unknowingly creating another. So the benefit of EFI is that the layer. Okay po, wait lang. Okay, so next. So if employed correctly, so can indefinitely prevent individual performance issues while maintaining complete package that drives smoothly. So don't feel bad if this seems intimidating at first. It will take time to fully understand that the layers of control in an EFI system. So many systems use slightly different strategies or naming to describe the control the same physical system. So with a little bit of patience and attention to build it, it is impossible to tame even the most complicated system. So this book covers a logical approach to EFI calibration. So the methods discussed here is closely follow those used by OEM calibration engineers on current production vehicles. So we cover solid foundation of a proper setup, airflow modeling, and fine-tuning of drivability parameters. So this approach works regardless of the EFI system being used. So whether you are reflashing the PCM in 2005 OBD to equip BMW, burning a new chip for a 1992 Mustang, or tuning a dedicated race car using Axle DFI Gen 7 standalone processor, so the tuning procedure is fundamentally the same. So I encourage the calibrator to constantly think about what is going on inside the combustion chamber when making adjustment. So understanding how much air is making its way to the cylinder and how fast the mixture is burning after ignition goes a long way toward making the right decision when changing engine maps during the calibration procedures. So, at the end of the day, almost all EFI systems operate on same set of principles. The processor does not know what kind of car it's running, only what inputs and output it has. So the same law of physics and thermodynamics apply to all engines equally. A proficient calibrator can tune any engine as long as he has access to the necessary hardware and software. So no by many names, engine controllers are still engine controllers. It seems as though almost every manufacturer has its own name for their electronic controller. Example includes the power control module, the engine control module or the ECM, the engine control unit or the ECU, and the electronic control engine controller which is the EEC. For the sake of simplicity, we use PCM through this text as a generality. So the basics. Okay po? So before we deliver into the finer points of if-I table adjustments, let's take a step or two back and understand exactly what is happening under the hood. So syempre, para mas ma-fully understand natin kung ano ba yung system involved, so himay-himay natin ano ba yung meron. So it has been said before and is reinforced here again that the engine is a little more than an air pump. It just so happens to be with the right mix of ingredients, we get harvest a little hidden energy on the way through. So ibig sabihin, if we want to truly understand the nature of the engine and how it operates, so we must build on its properties, composition, mechanical, and chemical involvement. So both the air we breathe and the gasoline in the tank are made up of complex combinations of chemicals with all kinds of hidden potential. However, this reaction can only take place between certain amounts of each chemical. Just like a baker knows that too much flour turn cookies into biscuits, ganun din, too much fuel gives us less than ideal reaction. So ideally, to have no extra molecules of their oxygen or fuel left over at the end of the reaction, so we must start with the right ratio of components. Sabi chemist call this correct ratio as stoichiometric mix. Okay, so siguro you are familiar with the stoichiometric mix or stoichiometric ratio when you are on first year. So sabi natin, for gasoline and air, it is 14.68 pounds of air for every pounds of gasoline. Notice that we say pounds of air is not cubic feet. On a molecular level, each string of octane, each oxygen molecule, have a specific mass. So to get the right ratio of strings of octane to oxygen molecules, so we must calculate based on mass. So changes in barometric pressure manifold, pressure and temperature have significant impact on the density of air and fuel. So we must remember that 1 cubic foot air does not always contain the same number of oxygen molecules. So once again, this is where electronic fuel injection shines, with its ability to compensate for such changes almost instantaneously. So as you can see from the periodic table of elements, we can see the molar weight of oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. Okay po? Okay, so next. So the composition of a gas, so we have the hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. So when these combine to form isooctane or O2 molecules, the mass of each can be calculated from the molar weights of its components. So ito yung ating composition of dry air. We have the dry carbon dioxide, argon, oxygen, nitrogen, and others. So the air you're breathing right now is not a pure oxygen. The primary component is actually nitrogen with only about 23% oxygen. So this is why the engine must consume more total air mass to obtain the oxygen required to react with the gas, to react with the gasoline. So next is yung ating tinatawag na four cycles of an engine. So syempre, we all know na yung cycle is the intake, compressed power, and the exhaust. In other, it is termed as suck, crash, bang, and blow, sabi. So at least that's how I remembered it in college. Maybe that is intake, compression, power, exhaust is less offensive, but I doubt it leaves as much of an impression on the mind. So the process begins with a relatively empty space inside the cylinder of an engine and an open intake valve. So as the piston moves down, the pressure inside the cylinder drops below that of intake, track, and atmosphere. So as a review, we all know that the first step is the intake on a stroke. So this pressure difference is what pushes the air and fuel into the chamber. Since we know that each ounce of fuel only carries so much energy and must be mixed with an approximate amount of air to burn. So the more total mix that can find its way in the cylinder each time the valve opens, the more potential we have to make power. So obviously, there are ways to increase or decrease the amount of charge filling the cylinder in each time. So the most obvious method of charge fill control is the throttle blade. So syempre, by closing up a portion of the inlet track with the blade, the amount of air available for the next intake stroke is reduced. Mixing a smaller amount of intake air with a smaller amount of fuel leads a smaller power potential, but also resist the tendency of the engine to pick up speed. Conversely, with the throttle blade completely open, the amount of air entering the cylinder can be increased by taking advantage of standing waves in tuned length runners. So leaving the valve open longer with change come timing events or changing the pressure differential severely with supercharging. So actual charge field is an indicator of how much work the engine is doing at the same at the moment. Okay po, wait lang. Okay, so actual change field is an indicator how much work the engine is doing at the moment. So the more charge fill in the cylinder, the harder the engine is working. So this work is expressed in the terms of load or volumetric efficiency. So load and volumetric efficiency are just two methods used to describe actual mass of air flow through an engine compared to the theoretical mass flow based on its displacement and speed. So the theoretical amount of charge field is the mass of air that would occupy the same volume as the engine displaces. So this mass is found by multiplying the volume and normal atmospheric density. So we have the formula mass, which is the air of an engine, equals to volumetric efficiency over the normal atmospheric density. So the theoretical filling is calculated at the standard temperature and pressure, where density is equal to 0.00046721 lbm per cubic inch. So to find the flow rate, we normalize the number of complete displacement over time. A four-stroke engine has 2 revolutions per cycle of displacement on the displacement rate in one half of actual engine speed. So the theoretical airflow rate of an engine is M equals V engine times yung normal atmospheric density times RPM over 2. So the theoretical 100% filling of a four-stroke engine with 100 cubic inch displacement at 1,000 is calculated by, so example, ano, 300 times 0.00 times 1,000 divided by 2. So ang kanya ay 7.01 pound per minimum air mass flow to an engine. So this engine would theoretically move 7.0 pounds per minute of air through itself at standard ambient conditions and 1000 RPM. By closing the throttle blade to reduce airflow and horsepower, the engine is only allowed to move 1.4 pounds per minute. So the ratio of actual instantaneous mass flow to theoretical pumping give us volumetric efficiency or load. So that is 1.4 divided by 0.71, that is zero point 0.2 or 20%. This means that the reduced throttle position yield at a volumetric efficiency of 20%. These engine loads can vary from 10 to 18% at idle. So most steady cruising ay next. Wait lang. Street and highway speed happens at approximately 20 to 2% load. So light acceleration is usually between 30% and 60% engine load. Wide open throttle operation for naturally aspirated engines results in a load anywhere from 60% to 105%. So depending on how efficient the intake, camshaft, and cylinder designs are. So supercharged engines routinely see loads in excess 100% once boost is present in the manifold. For reference, the most 5-liter Ford Mustang engines show approximately 80% load at a peak power. So with the vortex centrifugal supercharger making 8 psi of manifold boost, the same engine can show approximately 140% load at a peak power. So EFI system excel by being able to accurately calculate engine load at any time. So load has a large impact on what the engine wants to operating parameters to perform optimally. So as load increases, spark advance typically has to be reduced to prevent knock. At high loads, fuel enrichment may also be necessary to control exhaust gas and component temperatures. So this implies that in any engine condition, dyan pumapasok yung electronically fuel injection wherein there is enough control whether the engine must have an additional power consumption or not. So as you can see in the picture, data logging of the engine sensor data during a wide open throttle run reveals actual air consumption. So this air consumption is used by the PCM to calculate engine load. Notice that how this naturally aspirated engine develops approximately 80%, 86% engine load at watt. So nowadays, as you can see dun sa ating mga dashboard, we can monitor the fuel consumption. Ano, kung siya ba ay in 1 liter, how many kilometers yung nararan. So anyway, you slice it, just pumping air from the outside world into the cylinder, tackles some amount of energy. So the engine needs to come up with some power to drive the process somewhere. So once a mix of air and fuel has found its way in the cylinder, we need to find a way to do something with it. So the piston moving up in the bore with both valves closed does two things very effectively. First, it compresses the mixture, giving it a new set of properties. A denser air-fuel mix tends to pull all the molecules in much closer proximity, so making for a faster reaction once things start to happen. Also, Boyle's gas law tells us that as the volume decreases, pressure and temperature increases, which is PV equals nRT. Okay, remember? So, denser mix for a faster reaction. Just like in the intake stroke, compressing the mixture takes energy to drive the piston up against a mixture that generally doesn't want to get any smaller on its own. So this energy needs to come from somewhere too. Okay po? Wait lang. Okay, next. So, so where does the power come from? So sabi natin, hydrocarbons in the fuel have a tendency to give off lots heat and pressure and when mixed with the right amount of oxygen from air in the presence of heat. So engineers and chemists call this an exothermal chemical reaction resulting from the mixture of octane and oxygen with a heat catalyst or pyrolysis. We call this it as combustion. So sabi natin, this combustion releases heat that dramatically increases the pressure in the cylinder. And the real trick for the calibrator is to create conditions in which as much as the air-fuel mix that has already been introduced into the cylinder reacts during the time when the piston is traveling downward. So taking advantage of the available chemical energy in the charge mix during the time means less wasted energy to be dumped out the exhaust or simply not react at all, yielding better emissions and powerful output. So once we have had this reaction that releases heat and pressure, the result is a piston. So that is pushed down, the bore giving rotational energy to crankshaft. So if the energy pushing down the piston is in the power stroke equals the energy needed to pump the air through the engine. So compress the mix, overcome friction, and rotate the accessories on the engine. So speed stays constant. So if the energy resulting from the power stroke exceeds the other losses, so the engine accelerates. So likewise, the less energy pushing on the piston, the current losses yields a acceleration. So sabi, an early form of fuel injection is central port injection. So seen here, the injectors are mounted in the middle of the intake manifold on what essentially looks and acts like an electronic carburetor. So at the end of the power stroke, we are left with a cylinder full of mostly spent gases, and as the exhaust valve opens, the piston drives upward, providing enough pressure differential to push things out. So obviously, the greater this pressure differential is between the cylinder and exhaust system, the more flow. So much like the intake manifold, proper tuning here to take advantage of standing waves help scavenge the cylinder more efficiently, which leaves room for more air and fuel on the following intake stroke. So, as a side benefit of relatively high pressure, driving exhaust gases out of the cylinder, it often becomes rather easy to increase total system flow by reducing restriction and the exhaust system as a whole. The major trade-off here is noise. This is also where a turbocharger shines with the ability to harness the high pressure, high temperature, exhaust energy for more help on the intake side. Then we will cover it for the later discussions. So on the next part, yung tinatawag nating air and fuel. So let's take a look at we're really moving to the engine for a moment. So actually, air is actually mix of primarily nitrogen and oxygen. So the ultimate goal of EFI is to accurately determine the correct ratio between oxygen being ingested by the engine and fuel being delivered through the injectors. In the science of calibration, we must make the assumption that our external environment is a relatively constant mix of approximately 23% of oxygen by mass, which is 20% by volume. So even as ambient condition change the density of the air, all we can really do is model total air mass entering the cylinder. So sabi natin, oxygen is the real player in the combustion event since it is the molecule that eventually mixes with the hydrocarbons to yield carbon dioxide and water. Since oxygen plays a vital role in the combustion process. Ano? So yes, water. Keep in mind that under normal operating condition, exhaust gas temperatures are well in excess water boiling point of 212 degree Fahrenheit, yet is still present. It takes relatively cold ambient conditions to actually see steam in the exhaust. So on cold starts, the exhaust system itself on most vehicles is cool enough to allow some steam to condense to a degree. So an interesting side note that repeated short trips where the exhaust is cooled down before this condensation point yield a fair amount of liquid water, often sitting inside the muffler. So this can sometimes lead to corrosion of unprotected components. So by and by, this is the description on how combustion takes place with the presence of oxygen and fuel. So the primary component of our atmosphere, which is the nitrogen, is mostly just along for the ride during the whole engine cycle as far as power is concerned. However, it is important to note that emissions are directly impacted in combustion temperature, which gets high enough to break down the nitrogen atom, yielding oxides of nitrogen. That's it. So to combat this, the exhaust gas circulation is often employed. If you will remember last time, the components of electronic fuel injection, meron tayong tinatawag na EGR. So ang purpose ng EGR is to recirculate the gases coming from the engine wherein it improves combustion process of the vehicle. So by means of recirculating, the spent gases back into the intake charge dilutes the energy potential to the incoming charge, reducing its burning temperature potential. So additionally, unburned oxygen and fuel molecules have a second chance at properly mixing before being wasted out the tailpipe. So ang EGR is often controlled by a valve directly between the exhaust system and intake tract. Another source of EGR is the camshaft overlap. Whenever both valves are open simultaneously, there is opportunity for intake and exhaust gases to mix in both the cylinders and intake ports. So this effect is typically more pronounced at low speeds where ram tuning has not become dominant. But it should be kept in mind for later tuning concerns. So with many different hydrocarbons fuel to choose from, what's the difference? So commonly, when we say fuel, yung iba, they prefer to use premium and then other preferred the regular. Yung regular minsan they are called unleaded type. So, syempre, a major consideration is the amount of chemical energy in the fuel molecules. So, sabi natin, this energy value of the fuel is known as the heating value. Syempre, the higher thickness or the higher this number, the more total energy is hidden in the fuel molecules. So sabi natin, good fuels by definition contain plenty in the chemical energy potential. It can be consistently mix and ignite inside the engine. So the heating value is expressed in terms of energy per unit mass, which is kilojoules per kilogram or BTU per pound, making it easy to see how burning more fuels, more energy as shown in figure 2-1. So as you can see, there are several comparisons between lower heating value for gasoline, which is regular and premium, 42.7, 43.5, and then their octane ratings is different. So yung regular 87, and then yung octane ratings ng premium is more 93. Density 0.74, premium 0.75. Stoichiometric ratio, syempre, mas mababa yung 14.7, yung premium at mas mataas yung regular. So sabi natin, gasoline is a good automotive fuel choice due to its relatively high heating value, accepting boiling point, easy of storage, and relatively ease of production. So makikita naman natin na ang gasoline kahit nakatiwangwang nag-aano siya, nag-evaporate. So that's its property. If you will look on the isooctane 44.8 diesel, we have 42.5, much lower heating value comparison to gasoline. Methanol 19.7, ethanol 26.8, E85 propane, hydrogen, methane, kerosene, benzene, LPG is also listed. So mas higher yung ng LPG. So heating values for several common fuels. Notice that the energy contained in fuel is not always proportional to the amount for stoichiometry. So much like the air in the atmosphere, modern fuels are cocktails of varying ingredients. So gasoline itself is not a pure fuel, but the blend mostly closely resemble the properties of isooctane. So remember, ang gasoline at saka ibang fuel, they undergo several process which is from fossil fuels, they are converted into the gas or diesel. So as the name suggests, octane is a chain of 8 carbon atoms, each carrying a pair of hydrogen atoms and one more hydrogen atom to cap each end of the chain. Pero if you will remember dun sa mga Saudi, di ba, may mga namiminang diesel. Pero yung mga diesel na yun, although diesel na siya, pinaprocess pa rin siya. Pinapurify, tinatanggal yung mga residue. So this makes for a relatively long molecule with plenty of exposed single bonds. It is the breaking of these bonds and reforming of new ones during combustion that generates the heat energy driving the power stroke. And then sabi natin, isooctane has three ends of the cluster of this chain moving toward the center, making it a bit more stable molecule requiring more energy to break. So as you can see, this is the molecular structure for uh, gasoline. And then if you will remember, dun sa inyong subject na chemistry, we have state niya yung mga chemical properties niya, which is composition of carbon, hydrogen, and carbon monoxide. So it plays a vital role in the understanding the properties of those uh, of a gasoline. Ano? So isooctane is the closest single molecule that best represent the properties of a gasoline. So sabi natin, fuels with the higher octane number have a stronger concentrations of these more robust molecules versus the more easily broken longer chains. Kaya nga, syempre, mas mabilis yung combustion process when in terms of premium than regular or unleaded. So thus, they require more energy to break the bonds and have more resistance to knock. So an interesting side note is that the energy required to break these bonds come in the form of heat during combustion. Heat transfer from one molecule to the next requires a small amount of time. Even though this is a very small amount of time, more total transfer means more time for it to happen. So adding more heat to the molecule in order to separate their ions means more time is required. This means that the burn rate is slightly slower for higher octane fuel. So this becomes important later when we choose spark advanced timing. So we have already covered the basic recipe for combustion, but much likely any family recipe can be have a variation. So when we talk with different type of fuel, stoichiometric combustion of gasoline is differ from each other. So at a rate ratio of 14.68 is to 1, but combustion can occur anywhere between 7.5 is to 1 and 26 is to 1. So this leaves a broad range of possible operating conditions, and the catch is that a chemical reaction releases different amounts of heat depending on the mixture. Generally speaking, rich mixture burn cooler with more hydrocarbon emissions. Kaya nga, if we will look onto, mas mausok ang mga diesel and slightly lean mixtures. Burn hotter with oxides of nitrogen forming as a direct result. For emissions, we target a stoichiometric measure to leave us few byproducts either way. So, I think, wait lang, we will pause muna on that part kasi I